My parents abandoned me, but didn't expect this twist when I succeeded. I was 8 when my parents taught me what silence sounds like. It was February, breath showing up like ghosts, and Mom said, "Be brave, be," without looking me in the eye. Dad kept the engine running. They walked me up Mrs. Dawes's porch with a pink shoebox of my things, 2 shirts, a school photo, and the key charm bracelet I wasn't allowed to wear at school. "We'll be right back," Mom said, hand on the railing like it might fly away. I nodded because kids are trained to nod. The taillights smeared red across the snow, and then there was just a porch light, and the stupid bracelet glinting like a lie. Mrs. Dawes called someone. A social worker arrived with coffee breath and 2 phrases, temporary placement, and "you're very brave." I memorized the empty chair where parents are supposed to sit when forms get signed. I remember the ink freezing in the pen. I remember the shoebox getting lighter every time someone took something out to verify. I learned fast that when adults say, "Sweetie, you're about to lose something you love," what I lost the most was the voice that used to hum me to sleep. It had a melody, 6 notes, and a hush. Hum hum hum, hum hum, shhh. I pressed my ear into a thrift store pillow and tried to hum it myself. It sounded wrong coming from me. Flash forward. 10,000 nights, 3 foster homes, 1 scholarship, endless dish shifts, and a launch day. I named my nonprofit Porchlight because the word hurt and healed at the same time. Cameras, a banner, a microphone I could grip like a railing. "We build safety for kids who only have a porch," I said, and the room stood up. Someone handed me an award with my new last name etched into it like I was allowed to keep it. And then I saw them. Back of the ballroom, clutching each other in a manila folder, the same eyes I practiced not having. The bracelet was on her wrist, the key charm catching stage light like a wink. My mother, my father, smiling like they never drove away. The man with them wore a perfect suit and a PR grin. I heard the old lullaby and the clatter of forks, 6 notes and a hush, and my hands started to shake. For the first time in 20 years, they had come back. Not for me, I thought. For something else. And then my phone buzzed. Unknown caller. A voice whispered, "B, don't turn around." The first time I felt the empty chair was the school concert 2 weeks after the porch. I played a plastic recorder like I was trying to unclog a drain. Kids waved to parents in bright coats. I watched a janitor mop a sticky patch by the door because he was the only one who didn't look away. Mrs. Dawes came, God bless her, and clapped like I'd invented sound. Afterward, while the gym smelled like oranges and dust, the social worker asked if I had documents. "Like what?" I asked. "Birth certificate," she said, like everyone keeps one in their sock. We didn't find it. What we found was a photo, ripped down the middle, stuffed in the shoebox under a sock. Mom on a motel balcony, a flicker of red neon behind her. Harbor something. She wore the key bracelet, hand half raised like she was about to wave or shield her face. The other half of the photo was gone. "Maybe the rest is with your things," the social worker said, which was funny because these were my things. Foster home number 1 smelled like cigarettes, overcooked spaghetti, and cheap pine cleaner. I learned chores, learned to eat fast, learned that some grown-ups call you honey when they need your story to make them feel kind. I learned to do homework under a blanket with a flashlight because the living room TV was always yelling. On nights when the house went heavy, I took the bracelet from the shoebox and tried it on. It dangled like a question around my bone-thin wrist. I didn't wear it outside. It wasn't mine, not really. It was proof. Years later, proof still hurt. At the launch, when I ducked behind the stage to breathe, the unknown caller said, "B, listen. They brought a folder with your name on it, and the man with them wants a photo op. Don't let them frame you." "Who is this?" I whispered. The voice hummed 6 notes, the exact lullaby, and paused. "I can't talk long," they said, "but your parents aren't alone in this. Meet me tomorrow, Harbor Inn, room 214. The line clicked. I walked back into applause with my heart hammering like a fist on a locked door. Harbor Inn had rebranded 2 times since that torn photo. New paint, same bones. The lobby plants were fake now. Room 214 wore a chain lock and a do not disturb sign with the word not underlined twice. I knocked. The chain slid. A woman in scrubs opened the door and kept her eyes on my hands. "You came," she said. She was older than me by a decade, maybe, with the exhaustion of night shifts baked into her face. "I only have 15. "Who are you?" I asked. She shut the door, clicked the chain, and hummed the lullaby, soft and perfectly on pitch. I knew it would be you if you finished the SHHH, she said. I used to change your diapers when your mom couldn't be bothered. She asked me to hum you quiet. My throat closed. Why call now? Because your father, told the PR man you'd sign a reunification statement for the cameras. They want rights to your story. They also want to clarify the past. Her mouth twisted on the word clarify. She pulled out a photocopy from her tote. This is filed at the county. Voluntary relinquishment of parental rights. Your mother's signature is tidy. Too tidy. She tapped the date. March 3rd. They left you in February. People misremember dates, I said, even as nausea rose. She shook her head. Look at the witness signature. It was my father's name. Witness. Notarized by a woman who, according to a sticky note on the copy, had died 5 years earlier. You'll find the notary's stamp was reported stolen, the woman said. Long story. But here's the short one. They didn't lose you. They got rid of you. And now you've made something they can sell. I stared at the photocopy until the black ink looked wet. Why help me? Because I owed a child I couldn't protect, she said. And because there's more. She slid a second paper out, a hospital intake listing my birth without a father named. Under mother, a different spelling of her last name. They've been muddying the trail since day one. Cold anger, quiet as snow, spread through me. Do you have proof that holds up in court? I have a key, she said, and it wasn't a metaphor. From her pocket, she placed a tiny brass key on the bedspread, shaped like the charm on my bracelet. Your grandmother left a box in storage. Same symbol on the lock. I can get you the unit number. But you'll have company soon. Who? She looked at the door like it had teeth. The same man who paid me to keep my mouth shut back then. He thinks I still will. The knock landed before she finished the sentence. 3 quick raps, confident. Open up, Ms. Ortiz, a smooth voice called. We have a very generous offer for B. I didn't breathe. She mouthed, run. And then the chain slid. The chain slid back, and the door opened on a smile that didn't reach the eyes. The man wore a navy suit that matched his voice, polished, rehearsed, nothing to snag on. B, he said, like we were old friends. Colin Mercer, I represent your parents. He stepped past Ms. Ortiz without waiting. Congratulations on Porchlight. Stunning brand story. Which brings me to why I'm here. He placed a folder on the bed and fanned out papers like a magician. A reunification statement. An exclusive interview. A limited series documentary. Your triumph. Their redemption. America weeping together. Plus a licensing deal for your narrative assets. He said the last 2 words like they were stock options. Ms. Ortiz crossed her arms. You'll want a lawyer, she told me. Mercer smiled at her like at a gnat. Your mother is devastated, B. She kept your bracelet all these years. It was on her wrist at my event, I said. His smile tightened. Visual storytelling. And speaking of visuals, he tapped another document. An injunction drafted this morning. Your parents filed a provisional trademark for Porchlight Family Initiative last month. If you don't collaborate, we argue consumer confusion. Press loves a brand dispute. He looked delighted. I picked up the draft. My father's name, my mother's tidy signature, a notary stamp that suddenly meant more than ink. Why now? I asked. Why today? Mercer shrugged. Momentum. A rising tide lifts all boats. Plus there are funds. Legacy funds. Your grandmother's, if I'm not mistaken. Triggered at 25 by a named heir. He watched my face the way a cat watches a curtain move. There are paths where everyone wins, B. Ms. Ortiz's eyes cut to mine. Don't. I slid the papers back. I won without you once, I said. I don't need a script written by the people who left me at a door. He sighed like I'd failed a quiz. Last chance to be the hero of a kinder story. He reached for the folder, and a small brass thing skittered out. An extra key on his ring, with the same teeth as my charm. He covered it too late. Storage unit? I asked. B, 17 at Harbor Lockers? His eyelid flicked. Ms. Ortiz put a hand on my shoulder. It's way to permission. Meeting's over, she said. Mercer smoothed his tie. You have until morning, he said, backing into the hall. We file at 9 a.m. Oh, and your board chair has questions. He winked. Call him. The door shut. My phone buzzed immediately with the chair's name. I let it buzz. Then Ms. Ortiz pressed a napkin into my palm. On it, in quick block letters, B, 17. Back entrance. Tonight. Come alone. Harbor lockers breathed out cold metal and old rubber. The night guard didn't look up. I cut through a row of units until the numbers marched me to B17. The key from Ms. Ortiz, warm from my fist, found the lock like it had been waiting. The door rattled up. Inside, dust, a garment bag, a milk crate of VHS tapes, and a small cedar chest with the same tiny key shape carved into the lid. I closed the door behind me and pulled the chain bulb. The cedar chest fought me, swollen wood, stubborn hinge, then surrendered. On top was a shoebox. Of course it was a shoebox. A pink one like the night they left. Inside, letters tied with string, a cassette labeled B's Song, and a birth certificate folded to a crease. Mother, Lila Caro, my mother's sister. Father, unlisted. I sat down hard on the concrete. My heartbeat moved into my ears like the ocean. The letters were from my grandmother to Lila. Please don't let Nora take her. She wants a pretty picture, not a child. There were receipts, cash withdrawals that lined up with the dates. I remembered social workers checking on things. And tucked into an envelope, brittle as grief, a will. The Cedar Trust, funds to the named grandchild B. Transfer upon age 25 with proof of identity, bracelet, birth record, and key. It wasn't the money that made me shake. It was the sentence after. If the child cannot be found, trustees must fund a shelter so no child waits on a porch again. Porchlight was my inheritance whether I knew it or not. My grandmother had written me into a future I built anyway. Something scraped outside, rubber on concrete. I killed the light and held my breath. A phone glowed through the slats, camera lens glitter, whispering voices. Got it, a man asked. She's inside, another said. Footsteps stopped at my door. A soft click, someone testing the lock. Mercer wants live footage, the whisper said. My palms slicked. I slid the cassette into my pocket and eased the cedar chest shut. The chain bulb cord brushed my cheek. It felt like a hand. The lock twitched again, harder. A voice, familiar, guilt-soaked, said, B, honey, please open. My mother. We can explain. Something metallic thunked against the door. A camera powered on with a whine. Open, she said again, voice breaking. It's urgent. It's about your father. I didn't open. I called 911 and reported a break-in, then texted MS. Ortiz, they're here. She answered in one word, run. The storage door groaned as someone leaned. My mother's voice slid under the metal. He's in the hospital, B. He's asking for you. There it was. The emergency that makes you forget your questions. I kept my voice level. Which hospital? Silence. Then Mercer's smooth tone slipped in. St. Albans. Cardiac. Press already on the way. Imagine the image. A strange daughter forgives in father's last hour. It would heal the narrative. He said narrative like artery. The lock clanged. I grabbed the shoebox and cassette, slipped the key into my shoe, and looked for another exit. There wasn't one. The 911 operator asked for my name. I gave it. I gave the unit number. I gave the word abandoned because it was still the truest thing I knew. Sirens answered like distant wolves. B, my mother tried again, softer. I kept your lullaby because I couldn't keep you. I tasted metal. No, I said through the door. You kept a prop. She sobbed once, sharply. Then the PR voice took over. Last chance, Mercer said. Sign the reunification statement at the hospital. We hold the injunction. We position you as gracious and they as repentant. The trust releases under our joint narrative. The fluorescent lights hummed. The sirens sharpened. I flipped the cedar chest lining. Under the felt, a second compartment. My fingers found a thin recorder, the kind with a tiny built-in mic. A label in my grandmother's slanted hand, for when the story gets stolen. I pressed play. Crackle. Then her voice, tired and clear. If you're hearing this, they're rewriting things again. She named names. She said Lila, not Nora, had given birth to me. She said my father's name, one I'd never heard. She said why. Nora wants a child on camera, not in kitchen. She'll leave if the lights go down. A fist hit the door. The recorder kept talking. There's a bank box with the originals. Key stamped 314. Take the bracelet as proof. Don't sign anything that uses the word narrative. It means theft. Lighting strobed red-blue through the slats. Men shouted. The door rattled up 3 inches before the guard jammed it. Police, he yelled. Step back. Mercer swore. Footsteps scattered. I exhaled for the first time in 10 minutes, and tucked the recorder into my jacket. The officer's face appeared at the gap. "You be?" he asked. I nodded. He lifted the door the rest of the way. Behind him, my mother stood in the aisle, mascara ghosting her cheeks, Mercer at her shoulder calculating angles. "St. Albans," she said, voice small. "Please." I looked at her, then at the shoebox in my hands, then at the bracelet on her wrist catching the blue light like a siren. "Fine," I said. "I'll go." I didn't add the plan forming in my mouth like a taste. I would go with the recorder in my pocket and a bank box number burning my palm, straight to the place where their story needed me most, with my microphone turned on. St. Albans smelled like lemon cleaner and panic. Cameras clustered by the elevator like crows. Mercer met me at the doors with a hand already raised to direct a lens. "Right this way," he said, as if grief needed choreography. I slid past him toward the nurse's station. A woman with ink-stained fingers, charge nurse, tough eyes, looked me over and said, "You the daughter?" "I'm the child they left," I said. Something in her softened. "No filming on this floor," she told the swarm, and led me down a hall lined with plastic chairs that looked exactly like the ones no one sat in for me. My father, man I called father, lay propped in a bed pretending not to look good for cameras. Monitors steady. Oxygen in used. "B," he said, voice hoarse by choice. "Pump failure." "PR failure," I said, and set my phone on the tray, recording light off. "Say it plainly. Why did you sign those papers?" He looked at the ceiling tile like it had answers printed on it. "Nora wanted out. Said she was drowning. Lila begged us to keep you." I liked applause. I liked her hair done, the way strangers looked at us when we said, "We rescued a baby." He swallowed. "We weren't rescuing. We were staging." "Whose child am I?" I asked. He blinked. "Yours," he said. Then, quieter, "Lila's. Your father's name is Jonah Mark. He worked nights. He hummed that stupid 6-note song you loved. He wanted you, but had nothing they could film." He coughed. "Theatric." I signed the witness because Nora asked. She said we'd try for a real baby later, when her numbers were better. She wore the bracelet because she likes symbols. "We thought," he stopped. "I thought you'd forget." The curtain rattled. Mercer's silhouette. "They're ready," he stage whispered. I turned the phone toward the bed. "One more," I said to the man who raised me and then didn't. "Have you or Nora trademarked Porchlight Family Initiative to leverage my nonprofit?" He flinched. "Colin, yes or no?" "Yes," he said, small. I tucked the phone away. "Thank you," I said, and the thank you felt like a door closing. The nurse returned, eyebrows high. "A process server's here," she said. "For you." She held a manila envelope like a biohazard. I opened it. Temporary restraining order. I was barred from using the name Porchlight pending hearing, barred from defaming my parents with unverified narratives. My board chair's signature hovered on an attached, administrative leave letter. Mercer smiled from the doorway, wolfish. "See you at 9, he said. And then my father grabbed my wrist, eyes bright with fear. "Don't go to court," he whispered. "Go to the bank box. 314, before Nora does." The monitor beeped too loud. The nurse stepped in. "Time." I walked out into the cafeteria light, head buzzing, wondering how to build a dawn with no porch light, and whether the original song on a cassette could drown out a whole machine. Ms. Ortiz drove with both hands tied on the wheel, knuckles pale. "You okay?" she asked. "Define okay," I said, and held up the TRO like a snake. The bank opened at 8. We waited at the door with retirees who wanted to talk interest rates while I tried not to hyperventilate. When the vault manager checked our IDs, Ms. Ortiz placed the tiny brass key on the counter without explanation. The manager's eyes flicked at the carved symbol. "This way," he said, suddenly formal. Box 314 scraped out onto a velvet pad. Inside, a VHS tape labeled Harbor RM5/BLC, 3 Polaroids, a thick envelope sealed with red thread, and a letter addressed in my grandmother's hand. "For be it 25, or earlier if someone tries to sell you back your own past." My hands shook as I broke the thread. Documents spilled like a crowded memory. Birth registration with Lila's name, a notarized affidavit from the now-dead notary explaining her stolen stamp, and an assignment of trust oversight to a judge, with a clause. If Nora Caro seeks to profit by use of child's image/story, disbursements to her are suspended and directed to a designated shelter until judicial review. The Polaroids were motel balcony shots. In one, Nora wore a white dress and my bracelet, chin tilted toward a camera she worshipped. In the background, a man's hand held a baby bottle. Only the forearm showed, tattooed with a faded anchor. On the back, JM. The VHS had a sticky note, play for truth. My grandmother's letter was part warning, part lullaby. She wrote about keys and empty chairs, about how symbols get twisted. She wrote, I picked Porchlight because I knew you'd know what it meant. If you were reading this, you built it anyway. I cried quiet and ugly into the velvet pad. B. Ms. Ortiz said softly. We need to copy this and put it somewhere Nora can't spin it. My phone buzzed. A headline push alert. Porchlight founder under fire. Ungrateful daughter smears parents. Below it, a photo of me frowning in a hospital corridor, Mercer's perfect jaw in frame, my mother's eyes wet in the background like proof. We hustled to a copy service. The clerk fed paper like a priest. As the ink dried, the door chimed and 2 men in suits stepped in, flanking Mercer. Afternoon, he smiled. Bank says you accessed a box tied to a contested trust. That's theft adjacent. He flicked his gaze over the spread of documents. Tut, tut. I gathered the originals back into the envelope and met his eyes. Then call the police, I said. Please. I'd love a chain of custody record. His smile held, but one eyelid ticked. No need, he said. Court in 1 hour. We'll present your obsession as instability. He turned to leave, then over his shoulder. Oh, and nice to see you again, Ms. Ortiz. His tone went honey slow. Still working nights to pay off that old loan? Her shoulders tightened. My head snapped toward her. What loan? I asked. She stared at the counter. From when you were a baby, Mercer answered, pleased. People do astonishing things when promised tuition for their own kids. The door chimed again, and he was gone. MS. Ortiz covered her mouth like she'd swallowed a bee. I never took a dime to hurt you, she said, voice breaking. But I took one to survive. And I've been paying interest in shame ever since. My stomach dropped through the floor, and then my phone buzzed from an unknown number with a 6-note HUM. A text followed. Don't let Nora bury the tape. He's alive. He wants to meet. I couldn't win a courtroom I didn't trust, so I found a mic I did. I called a local reporter who had covered foster kids straight, never cheap. We met in a park under the one oak that still remembered shade. I handed her copies, not originals, and described the shape of a story that everyone else had flattened. Record, I said. But not my tears. She nodded and hit red. You understand they'll go scorched earth? She asked. They already did, I said, and opened the shoebox I carry like a heart. I showed her the bracelet, the torn photo, the letter. I didn't show her the VHS. That would debut where it mattered. From the park, I went live on Porchlight's channel. No branding, just my face and the key charm on string against my throat. A founder can't be restrained from her own porch, I said. If I have to rename it, I will. Keys and chairs. Same mission. Same kids. Come with us, or don't. The chat flooded with hearts and knives. I ignored both. My parents left me, I said. Now they want to author my return for profit. Here's what I know. I played 30 seconds of my father's recorded admissions. No names, only facts, and then I stopped. You'll hear the rest in front of a judge. An alert pinged, board statement. I opened it on screen. Neutral font, bleeding ice, effective immediately. I was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. I kept eye contact with the lens. Porchlight was never a logo, I said. It was a promise. If the board can't keep it, I will. Comments stuttered, then surged. One username caught my eye, Anchor Jonah. He posted 3 blue notes, then a phone number. My heartbeat did a drum solo in my teeth. I ended the stream and dialed. A voice like salt and night answered. B. 6 notes, same shape, same hush at the end. I couldn't speak for a second because the past had just grown a spine. Where are you? I asked. He hesitated. Not on the grid, but close. I've kept away because your grandmother made me promise. No contact until you were safe. I'm not safe, I said. Then it's time, he said. There's something on that VHS. And something they took from Lila that you need. What? He exhaled. A confession you've never heard. Not Nora's. Mine. I looked down at my open shoebox, at the empty space where the cassette had been. I patted my jacket pocket and came up with air. In the park, in the scramble, I must have, no. My blood went cold. B, he asked. I stared at the bench where I'd sat with the reporter. On the slat of wood, carved fresh with something sharp, was a tiny key shape and a single word, tonight. My phone vibrated again, video link from an unknown sender. A thumbnail froze on Nora's face in front of a motel balcony, my bracelet blazing. I hit play, and the screen went black. Before a whisper, my grandmother's voice cut in. If you're watching this, they finally came for the tape. The video link opened to darkness. Then my grandmother's voice threaded through static. If you're watching this, they came for the tape. The copy isn't in the box. It's where Nora posed with the bracelet. Harbor Inn, room 5, balcony rail, right corner. Take the capsule. Don't come alone. The frame flickered to a freeze of that white dress, my bracelet blazing. Then black. Tonight carved into the park bench wasn't a threat. It was a map. Harbor Inn again, the loop closing like a noose. I texted MS Ortiz my location and slid into a hoodie with the recorder in its pocket, the key on string under my shirt, the shoebox in a tote. I checked every mirror twice on the drive. In the motel lot, a soda machine buzzed like a bad alibi. Room 5's balcony rail had rust freckles and a loosened corner cap. I pried it up with my house key. Wrong key, right shape, and felt metal kiss my fingers, a stainless capsule barely larger than a lipstick. Don't drop it, a voice said behind me. I spun. He leaned against the door jamb like he'd been leaning there my whole life. Faded jacket, eyes the color of harbor water, and an anchor tattoo smudged by years. He raised his hands, palms open. Jonah, he said. Hearing my father's name in his own mouth was a tremor. He hummed 6 notes to prove the impossible thing, and my knees believed him before my brain did. I should hate you, I said. He nodded. I did that calculus every day. He glanced at the capsule. She paid me to disappear, he said. Not Nora. The man behind her. Mercer didn't have that name then, but the smile was the same. He called it handling. I called it cowardice. He swallowed. I signed what I had to and left what I didn't have, enough to fight. Your grandmother tried. She hid what she could. Lila, I said, the name a tender place. His mouth went soft. Your mother wanted you, and they sold her a story about stability and cameras. She signed things she didn't read because she thought the sister she loved wouldn't. He stopped and looked at the peeling paint. She's sober, he said finally, like handing me a glass of water. Alive. Close. My throat burned. Why now? Because Nora's broke, he said. The TV money dried up and redemption arcs don't pay out unless the sinner cries on cue. The trust became her Hail Mary. Mercer found the clause and decided to draft you into her third act. I unscrewed the capsule and slid out a microcassette labeled Balk Harbor, Nora/Mercer. Jonah's jaw tightened. She made everything a set, he said. Even the balcony. The mic was hers. She thought it was off. He looked at me. It wasn't. A camera shutter cracked the air like lightning. We both ducked. From the parking lot, flash exploded. Nora's voice climbed the stairs before she did. There she is. The prodigal. Live stream phone raised. Mercer 2 steps behind her. Perfect. I shoved the microcassette into my bra and hit record on my pocket device. Nora reached for me like a hug, like teeth. B, she wept. Your father, my father is here, I said, and stepped aside so the camera saw Jonah's face. The comments on her live shot must have turned because her smile faltered, then hardened. Security, she shouted to no one. Jonah's eyes met mine. Pedal, he said, urgent now. There's one more truth you need before they swallow it whole. He leaned close, voice low. Lila didn't abandon you. She was locked in a treatment facility Mercer arranged. He swallowed. She's waiting 3 blocks away. He pressed a folded note into my hand with an address and time scrawled in grease pencil. If we don't make it, go now. Sirens bled toward us. Nora backed up, composing her face. B, she called sweetly to the lens, come forgive with us. I closed my fist over the note and said to her camera, I'm going to meet my mother. The church basement smelled like coffee and floor wax and the kind of hope you have to stack chair by chair. Fluorescent lights hummed. Folding tables held pamphlets about steps and one pot of chili older than noon. She sat in the far corner by a bulletin board, hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup like a life preserver. Lila. Not glam, not ghost, just human, the lullaby's vowels in a woman's mouth. When she stood, my chest recognized the tilt of her head before my eyes finished the math. I don't know how to do this, she said, eyes wet but steady. Me neither, I said, and we did it anyway. Her hug was quiet, almost apologetic, and then it wasn't. She smelled like peppermint gum and laundry. I looked for you every place they said I couldn't, she whispered. I signed pages I couldn't read through detox tremors. Nora promised she'd hold you until I was well. She held you up to light, Spee. Not in arms. We sat. She pulled a cloth pouch from her tote and set it between us like a small altar. Inside, a hospital anklet with my last name typed wrong, a Polaroid where her eyes are swollen but fierce, and a spiral notebook, first page indented by a heavy pen. When Mercer came to the clinic, she said, he brought a release that turned into an erasure. I tore the carbon copy out of the pad when the nurse turned her back. She slid the notebook forward. The impression read, relinquishment, temporary, Sister Nora, review in 30 days. They never reviewed, Lila said. They moved you counties away. I played the microcassette on my pocket recorder. Nora's voice filled the basement, bubbling with champagne ambition. We'll stage the porch, she said. Mercer's younger voice. News van can be 2 blocks over. We cry in natural light. Lila's face crumpled and then set. She told me I was a burden, she said. She told me you'd be better if the world loved us for losing you. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I crawled out, and they shut every door. Your grandmother opened one from the other side. Footsteps. The basement door creaked. Ms. Ortiz slipped in, breathless. They're coming, she whispered. Not cops, process servers. Nora's seeking an emergency guardianship of your story. She wants a conservator over the trust and any IP tied to your name, citing acute trauma response. She handed me a printout. My board chair's email signature blinked from the bottom of a forwarded chain. Conflict of interest, I said, and Ms. Ortiz nodded. He's Nora's Rotary buddy. She chaired his wife's gala. It's all pictures of canapes and virtue. Lila squeezed my hand. You don't fight this in their frame, she said. You fight it where the trust lives. She tapped the clause in my grandmother's letter about disbursements freezing if Nora profits off me. We take our evidence to the judge named here. Now. Her fingers trembled, but her voice didn't. I am done being a footnote. We packed the pouch, the notebook, the recorder. As we hit the sidewalk, a black SUV idled at the curb with windows so dark they could be anything. Mercer stepped out smooth as a bad idea. Ms. Caro, he purred at Lila. So good to see you upright. He nodded at me. B. Running to court without counsel? Risky. He angled his iPad so I could see a headline already cued. Troubled founder kidnaps mother from rehab. He smiled like a blade. Or, we could draft a unified narrative. Lila lifted her chin. My narrative is 12 steps and the truth, she said. I put the shoebox on the SUV hood, opened it, and held my phone camera above it like a witness. If you try to stop us, I told Mercer. I streamed the balcony tape in full. He stretched the smile until it cracked. Where is it? He asked lightly. Because from what I hear, you misplaced something at the park. My stomach dropped. The capsule was safe, but the original cassette from the cedar chest, the one labeled B's Song, my pocket was empty. He saw the flinch. His eyes lit. Careful, he said. Lullabies can put people to sleep. And then the SUV door opened on Nora, mascara perfect, hair windless. B, she said sweetly. We're due at the courthouse. Behind her, a child's voice piped from a car seat. Nana? My scalp prickled. Nora turned the screen of her phone toward me, a photo of a toddler with my eyes. Meet your cousin, she said. Or your replacement. We didn't go to Nora's courthouse. We went to the judge named in my grandmother's documents, a woman who'd retired but still held special jurisdiction over the trust. Her clerk answered the buzzer like we were selling cookies. Emergency, he said, and I said, narrative theft, and his eyebrows went somewhere interesting. He led us to a conference room that smelled like wood polish and stubbornness. I laid out the will, the clause, the Polaroids, the notebook impressions, the bank box manifest, the balcony audio. Lila sat beside me, ankles crossed, hands folded so tight they were prayer. The judge, gray hair pulled into a no-nonsense knot, listened like a stone listens to a river. When the balcony tape played, her lip thinned. When the TRO came out, she pinched the bridge of her nose. When I explained the board's leave, she said, boards love storms until they're wet. She read my grandmother's line. If the child cannot be found, fund a shelter, and looked at the Porchlight mission statement I'd printed on the back of a donor one-pager. "Seems you found yourself," she said. Then she signed an order. Temporary enjoyment of Nora from using the trust name or claiming disbursements, preservation of all related records, and a hearing set for Friday. "You'll need counsel," she added. "Not a PR firm. A lawyer who believes in forms as much as feelings." She slid me a card. "Call her." We stepped into the hall with paper that felt like a doorframe. My phone buzzed from an unknown, a live video push. I tapped. A shaky feed showed Jonah in a storage bay, the same harbor lockers, on a folding chair under bad lighting, hands tied with zip ties. A voice off camera said, he wanted to meet a daughter. We offered him lights. Jonah looked into the lens and tried to smile. "Pedal," he said. "Don't." The feed cut to black. Nora's text followed. "Come to Harbor if you want your father alive. Come alone." She included a location pin and a timestamp, 20 minutes from now. Ms. Ortiz swore under her breath. Lila grabbed my wrist, fingers hot. "It's a set," she said. "Like every set they ever made." "We call the police," Ms. Ortiz said, already dialing. I shook my head. "We do both," I said. I handed Lila the judge's order. "Take this to the reporter in the park. Stream it. Bring the board statement if they try to spin." I looked at Ms. Ortiz. "You've got night shift instincts and a set of keys. You come with me, but you stay outside." At the curb, my phone lit again. One message from my board chair. "Consider resigning for the good of the brand," followed by a second from our largest donor. "Whatever you rename, we'll fund it. Add keys to the logo." I half laughed, half sobbed. "Keys and chairs," I said out loud. Porchlight without the porch. We hit green lights like a blessing and a test. I tucked the microcassette deeper into my bra and checked the recorder in my pocket. The Harbor Lockers sign shivered in a wind that came from nowhere. As we pulled in, my screen pinged with an email attachment from Mercer. Subject, DNA. The preview line read like a smug whisper. "You're not who you think you are." I opened it. A lab logo. A percentage, 0% relation between me and Lila. I felt the floor tilt, the years tilt, the word mother tilt. And then Jonah's 6 notes rose unbidden in my throat and steadied me. Ms. Ortiz read the line over my shoulder and hissed. "They swapped something," she said. "They always swap something." I squeezed the recorder until plastic creaked, looked at the bay number on Nora's pin, and started walking toward the door where my father and the next lie waited, telling myself that even if blood was a coin they kept minting, I had keys, and I had chairs, and I had a mouth full of truth and a tape that wanted air. Bay 12's roll-up door groaned like a throat. Inside, they'd built a porch. White rail, thrifted rocking chair, a yellow bulb pretending to be a moon. Jonah sat zip-tied to a dining chair. One of those plastic ones from every school hallway. Ankles taped, face calm in the way you get when panic is useless. Nora had a ring light. Mercer had contracts. My board chair had the decency to look at the ground. Scene 1. Nora trilled to her phone. "A daughter forgives." She pivoted to me, voice dipped in sugar. "B, sweetheart, let's make this right." I raised the judge's order like a mirror. "Enjoined," I said. "No trust, no disbursements, no fake porch." Mercer stepped forward, not blinking. "You'll sign," he said softly, "or we'll win with optics." He tapped the plastic chair with his shoe. America loves a chair. I put my phone on a shelf facing the room and hit go live, private link to the reporter. A red dot glowed like a stubborn heartbeat. Then I slid the microcassette into my pocket recorder and pressed play. Nora's balcony voice filled the unit. "We'll stage the porch. We cry in natural light. Mercer, younger and just as slick, will get the notary. We'll fix the dates." The ring light flickered. Comments on Nora's live began to whip sideways. Her smile froze. Ms. Ortiz's shadow crossed the threshold. She stayed outside as we agreed, and somewhere down the corridor a guard's radio crackled. I moved to Jonah, fingers on the tape. "You okay?" I whispered. "Been worse," he said. "Once watched a storm take a boat I loved." His eyes flicked to Mercer's equipment bag. "Your song," he mouthed. I saw it then. A black cassette tucked half out of a side pocket, label smudged, but legible, B's song. "Enough," Mercer snapped, and reached for my recorder. I dodged, grabbed at his bag, and the unit became elbows, paper, 2 phones broadcasting, 3 timelines colliding. The microcassette kept playing, Nora laughing. "We trademark first, she'll fold." The board chair looked up like a man hearing his own voicemail on speaker. "Colin," he hissed. "We said no tapes." "You said no proof," Mercer corrected. Sirens washed faint and urgent. Ms. Ortiz shouted, "Police are here," which made Nora smile wider. "Perfect," she said, and lunged to hug me for the cameras. I ducked. Her nails raked air. I yanked the black cassette free and shoved it into my hoodie pocket. Mercer's hand slammed the roll-up chain. The door rattled down like a guillotine. We dropped into dark, the ring light popping and dying, my stream still a red dot in my palm, Jonah still tied, Nora's perfume too sweet to breathe. From the other side of the metal, a cop banged. "Open up," he yelled. Now, a lock clicked hard on our side. Someone had slid the hasp. We were sealed in, with the porch set, 2 versions of my mother, and a truth that hummed against my ribs like a live wire. Dark smells like dust and fear. I thumbed my recorder until a tiny green LED blinked alive. Its speaker made the room a mouth. Not the balcony this time, the other cassette. My grandmother's voice, steady as winter. "If they corner you, play this." A soft shuffle. Then Lila's voice, thin and fierce from some kitchen forever ago. "B. If you ever hear me, and I'm not with you, I didn't choose that." Nora said, 30 days. She took 30 years. A male voice entered, Mercer before the expensive polish. "Sign it, Lila. We'll fix the dates." "Lila," she promised. "Mercer." She promised content. Nora hissed in the dark, "Turn that off." I didn't. The tape kept unspooling names, dates, the stolen notary stamp, the first trademark filing, a lab tech's voicemail asking which relative sample to use. My phone vibrated. Text from the lawyer the judge had recommended. "Do not trust DNA PDF you received. Spoof domain. Affidavit en route." I breathed that in like oxygen. Across the door, metal screeched. The outside lock fought a bolt cutter. "Stand back," a cop shouted. "Mercer," I said into the near black, "you didn't just steal a story. You counterfeited a chain of custody." My board chair tried. We were misled, and the ring of his tie clip in the dark sounded like guilt. Ms. Ortiz's keys jangled outside. Bless every night shift she ever worked. The lock shrieked one last time and let go. Cold hallway light knifed in. Police filled the frame. Nora lifted her hands like a woman auditioning for sainthood. "Officer, we were reconciling," she began. The nearest cop pointed at Jonah. "Untie him." Tape ripped, plastic snapped, relief burned. I handed the cop the judge's order. He read, nodded, and stepped aside for the reporter, who'd followed behind like weather. Her camera drank the set, the chair, the contracts, the bag with my cassette. "We're rolling," she said. I set my little recorder on the fake porch and played the balcony tape again, then the kitchen tape, then the part where the lab tech asked, "Which swab am I labeling mother, Nora or Lila?" Mercer lunged for the device. The cop's hand found his shoulder. "Don't," the cop said. Ms. Ortiz pressed a palm to my back like a benediction. Lila reached the threshold, eyes wide, mouth shaking, and the room shrank around the sound she made when she saw me standing and Jonah free. I turned to the phone still in Nora's hand, her live audience gaping through glass. "You didn't come for love," I said. "You came for a last act." I lifted the bracelet from her wrist. The clasp gave like it had been waiting to. I slid the key charm onto my string beside the tiny brass teeth I wore. "The porch you left me on didn't have chairs," I said. "I built them." My phone buzzed again. Sheriff's office. Emergency hearing moved up. Temporary gag order request filed by Nora's counsel. "There it is," I said to the camera. When they can't win the story, they try to lock the mouth saying it. The cop's radio spat a new instruction. "Transport to courthouse now." Mercer smiled thinly, a man who loves a change of venue. We were herded toward fresh fluorescent light and a clock that would not slow. On the way out, Nora leaned in close enough to frost the air between us. "Tell them anything you want," she whispered. "When the lights go off, you'll still be ours." I looked at Lila, at Jonah, at Ms. Ortiz, at the reporter's red tally light. "You never owned me," I said, and the next door we walked through had a seal over it, and a judge behind it, and the last set waiting. Courtrooms have their own weather. Ours felt like a storm about to pick a side. The judge from the trust order sat high, jaw set like a hinge. Nora's counsel launched first. Hurt mother, troubled founder, unstable narrative. He asked for guardianship over my IP and reputation management pursuant to my acute trauma response. He waved the spoofed DNA like a flag. My new lawyer stood when he finished and began hanging truth on pegs. The balcony audio, the kitchen tape, the stolen stamp affidavit, the trust clause freezing Nora's access if she profits from me. She introduced the reporter's authenticated live feed. She called Ms. Ortiz, who admitted her shame and told the whole truth without flinching. She called Jonah, who didn't pretty it up. He said cowardice out loud and let it land. Then she called Lila, who held the spiral notebook under the document camera and showed the carbon impression that said temporary relinquishment, 30 days, review. No review ever happened, Lila said, voice steady. They didn't lose a child. They kept the spotlight. Nora's counsel tried to pivot. But biology, he said, lifting the PDF. My lawyer handed up the lab's sworn denial, and the email had her analysis. The judge glanced at it, and then looked straight at Nora. Even if biology were murky, she said, custody is not a content strategy. She turned to me. Do you intend to defame your parents? I intend to tell the truth, I said, and to build beds for kids without chairs. The ruling felt like sunrise. Nora's petition denied with prejudice. Mercer referred to the bar. Temporary TRO dissolved. The trust honored as written. Funds to be administered by an independent fiduciary for keys and chairs. The renamed entity succeeding Porchlight, with a mandate matching my grandmother's clause. My board chair tried to object. The judge raised one eyebrow, and the objection crawled back into his mouth. Ms. B, the judge said, softer. You are allowed to be the author of your life. That's not revenge. That's repair. After, in the courthouse steps light, microphones grew like dandelions. I kept it simple. Boundaries are not cruelty, I said. They're doors you build after someone removes the porch. I thanked Ms. Ortiz for choosing truth over comfort. I thanked the reporter for not making me clickbait. I thanked Jonah for showing up and not telling me what to feel. I thanked Lila for getting well and staying. I didn't thank Nora. I wished her accountability. That night, we rehung the sign on our shelter. Keys and chairs and clean letters. Inside, a long room of beds and one corner stacked with sturdy chairs that never wobble. I took the bracelet off the chain around my neck and looped it over the back of the first chair. For the kid who needs to see someone waited for them, I said. Lila hummed 6 notes while we made the beds. Jonah fixed a wobbly leg without being asked. Ms. Ortiz posted the new hotline number on the bulletin board and wrote beneath it, come in. Sit. Stay as long as you need. There are still nights I dream of taillights on snow. On those mornings, I unlock the front door early and put an extra chair by the window. I keep a shoebox of letters at my desk and a black cassette in a safe. I have a lawyer on speed dial and a donor who understood that names are just signs pointing at promises. Nora still goes live sometimes. I let the videos scroll past like weather in another city. When people ask me if I ever forgave, I tell them forgiveness and access are not the same. I chose the first and refused the second. The twist they never expected is that success wasn't the money or the mic. It was the day I stopped auditioning for someone else's love and started leaving the porch light on for other kids who never got a chair. And tomorrow, at the ribbon cutting, I'll say that out loud, into my own microphone, with the door propped open and a line of new keys waiting in a bowl by the door.